Hey, you might have seen, but if not, I have opened up crowdfunding for my new game, which is a sequel to 868 Hack. It's called 868 Back, and I wrote a little on my blog about like how the history of how this came about, so I'll link that rather than going over that here. But yeah, it's live. People have been supporting it. I'm really excited. As far as I can tell, it's going really well. Never done this before. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone who's donated already. And yeah, it looks like I'm going to be able to finish making this game, and then hopefully things will continue to be fine. Yeah, it just needs like it's like a large percent of the way there already, so it just needs a bit more to get to the minimum goal of set. And like, I mean, that's like, we tried to work out a minimum budget, and like more would be better. But like if I'm happy, but it's just like and even I put a really high tier, 868 euros, like to match the name of the game, and actually some absolute legends have backed it at that tier. So like, wow, thank you. I will make an appropriate reward to honor you for that, but like also not spend too much time on that to honor the donation by actually putting that effort into the game. But yeah, like, wow, thank you. Yeah, it's like the all or nothing thing where like the charge doesn't happen if you don't reach the minimum goal. Like, there's still a moment of stress in me about that. Like, maybe we don't, but like it's gonna be totally fine. Yeah. So about the game. Yeah, like I said, check the blog post for like kind of the history, and it's more like digging into design. There's still a limited amount I want to talk about at this point because the game is still several months away from being finished and a lot of things are up in the air. But yeah, so 868 Hack. If not, like it's still available. It will continue to be available. So go play it. At the time when I made it, I'd been trying to make bigger roguelikes, and like you can get very ambitious and try and like include all the systems that every other epic roguelike you like has, plus your new cool ideas you want to put on top of that, and that's just too much. It's like some of those have been in development for literally decades. And if your idea requires something that takes a decade of work before you have the framework to even do the cool new thing, like it's absurd. So I ended up getting somewhere by cutting out all the crap and just focusing down on individual game mechanical elements of the genre. And that's really how I was conceptualizing it at the time. Zaga 33 did single-use unidentified items. 868 Hack did basically a spell book, reusable abilities that cost some kind of resource that you then build back up over time. It's a unique take on a spell book, but it's basically that concept. And then Imbroglio did inventory management, like weapons and equipment that have passive effects while they're in place. Again, a quite unique take on that concept, but that's basically it. And Single Pouch obviously did ones. So like each of these games, how I was conceiving of them was that there was a central subsystem of Rogue and the big roguelikes that I was focusing down in on. And coming back to 868 Hack and figuring out what new I could add to it has really turned my understanding of it upside down. I was thinking, this is a spellbook game. Like the central focus of the game is that you have these reusable abilities and not all the other mechanics. And when I really started trying adding a few other mechanics in, it took time, but as they've started to mesh, like the thing that makes 868 Hack isn't that it focuses on the spellbook mechanic. It's that it feels like itself. It has a soul. It is the game that it is. And if I'm adding an inventory system or a potion system or like some other kind of mechanic that fits with the roguelike basis, I can do that. I'm not restricted from doing that because the focus is none of that just spells. Just what I have to do to add something new is find the version of that coheres with what feels like 868 Hack. And yeah, so I've got kind of a equipment system that it took a lot of iterations, and I'll talk about that in a future video, but I got it to feel like something that just naturally goes in the game and could have been in the game all along. So that's really turned around how I conceptualize my designs. Like it's not so much about the mechanics, like the mechanical focus that I had of taking that one subsystem and finding a particular expression of that was interesting was a good way to access the heart of a new game. But having done that, anything can go as long as you attune, listen to the game and make sure what you're adding feels like it belongs. So in that sense it's getting to be quite a lot bigger of a game, and comparable with those like epic scale roguelikes that I had been trying to make back then by this journey. It's exciting. So the new mechanical stuff, which I will gradually talk about over time, and also some things not talk about, maybe to discover. The other thing, looking back, I went through all the articles and comments and everything that I could find online pertaining to the original game to just get a sense to see what other people saw in it, and not to be bound to that, but to understand if there was something that seemed to be critical to people, to be aware of whether I was taking that out or not. I'm completely freeing myself to throw stuff away that was in the original, even if it was good, to make something that's new and its own. And maybe a thing that you liked from the original isn't here. Oh well, like the original still exists. It's not going to stop existing because there's a sequel. Like maybe some people are going to prefer, like when there's like a Zelda series or something, people have their favorite one in the series. Like some people are going to prefer the original 868 hack to 868 back. That's cool. That they have different. They have a shared heart, but they have different flavors. Anyway, I was looking through everything that I could find that anyone had said about it, and one thing that kept repeatedly coming up was, this is weird, I wish this was like the lock-picking mini-game, like the hacking mini-game in a first-person shooter. And like, I'd seen these comments at the time, and I just dismissed them because they didn't make sense. Like it doesn't. The design requirements of a mini game in a bigger game are completely different to the design requirements of a standalone game, and essentially a big part of what makes 868 Hack good is the risk-reward of scoring that most people can fairly comfortably learn to get to the exit most of the time if they don't try and get any points. Like there's a level 1 of mastering that, but then after that, what really makes it a deep game is that you're choosing how much risk to take and how many points to get along the way. And that doesn't really comfortably fit into the minigame context. Like a lot of these like lock-picking minigames are pass-fail. There's like a little puzzle that you have to do to get past to access the thing, and the idea that you can try and get 30 more points while opening up a door, but also risk dying by doing so, like it doesn't. It would really warp the game around it. It's not something you can just slot into any old FPS and say, oh yeah, play a round of 868 hack in the middle, because like a round of 868 hack just to get to the exit is not the deep game. 868 hack to get the best score you can safely get is deep. And yeah, but like many like people who otherwise said sensible things said this. They wanted to see it in a first-person shooter. Now, before anyone gets the wrong idea, 868 back, no first-person shooters anywhere near it. I didn't take the surface interpretation of these words, but I really thought about like why would people say this? Like it's a good game on its own. A lot of what's good about it is that it's a complete game in itself. Why would you want to put it in another game? It doesn't. A lot of what's good about games overall is that they are self-contained. They're like the magic circle idea. A game does not contain all the complexities of the real world. And so like sometimes people criticize them for this, but this is actually a thing that's great about them. I mean, the real world is also great, but it doesn't. It's not great as a game. It was never designed as a game. If you try to play it as one, it's a bit lacking, really. That's just not what it's for. But yeah, a lot of what drives a game is the circle that's around it, that it makes a focus, that you just care for the purposes of this game about what is in this little bubble, and you don't have to think about externalities. There's a it allows you to focus down on a corner of the world that does reflect and say something about the world in its totality, but in a way that lets you go deeper into it by cutting the rest out. It's, I mean, this is a deep concept, and I'm maybe I haven't found the best way to articulate it yet. But like maybe you can sort of see the shape of what I'm getting at. That doesn't mean that a game has to be, like a lot of mine are, super tight focused. Like, as I said, like I found that I was able to expand the mechanical focus of Basic State Hack by just by sensitively bearing in mind what holistically fit with what was already there. But if you play like some kind of Crusader Europe King game, then the scope is huge. It simulates all of Europe, but it doesn't actually simulate all of Europe because it's a simulation. It simulates salient characteristics of Europe for the purpose of a medieval battle kind of thing, and you get to pretend that the rest of the impacts on the rest of the world and the rest of the complexity doesn't exist. Obviously, this is there is a trap that some people go into of thinking that some kind of simplified model, a game or a economy theory or something, is actually the real world, but don't do that, and you're fine, right? Like, see what your model illuminates, and also look at other models, and also remember that there's more than will ever be captured in the model, and there you go. Anyway, that was a complete sidetrack. What I wanted to say is that once you put a game inside a game, it's not that game anymore because you've added a bunch of externalities that interface with it, and that can enrich it or weaken it, but it certainly loses something and changes it. So yeah, I just don't think make this a mini game in an FPS is a good idea. Like the reason hacking mini games in FPSs suck is not because they're not as smart as me, it's because they're trying to make a hacking mini game rather than a complete hacking roguelike of itself. I think it's much harder to design a mini game that interfaces with a wider game in a coherent and deep way than it is to just design a whole game in itself. I think people who are doing that are smart and good at design, and just the thing that they're trying to do is maybe difficult, maybe impossible, maybe just a bad idea. Anyway, I don't want to do that. I don't think the game is actually a good fit for that. Why were people saying this? Why did people want it to be in an FPS? And I really spent time reading what they said and really dwelling upon it. Like what, why? And the conclusion I came to is that what they were really saying is, I want to see more of the world. They were playing the game, and it's this focus thing, and it has threads that imply there's a wider universe around it that create curiosity and don't satisfy it. And I mean that's kind of what I was going for. But and Leon Arnott, who did a lot of the end of level text, his holographic satellite around your head and stuff like that. I think that's kind of what he was going for as well. That we're suggesting a world, and you fill in the blanks, and you're in the game, and you're feeling like there's a wider world around it. And so I realized when people were saying this should be in an FPS, what they were saying is, you guys have succeeded at creating a tantalizing sense of a world around this game. We want to visit it. So, yeah, like when I turn it around, rather than taking it as a criticism that it should have an FPS around it, but actually a praise that like we had succeeded in the like light touch story world implication that we had tried to do, and at the same time asking for more. So this is still up in the air in the design of this game, but it has already more of the world around it, and it will be a bit more still than what I like. This is still very much in development. I'm not going to say anything yet, but like this is one of the things that I received from that feedback as an important thing to people, that they get to glimpse more of the world. So that's what I'm trying to achieve. I'm not gonna throw lots of lore books at you and like too much do storytelling in a way that detracts from playing the game. It stays a focused, good strategy game. But there's ways that it can interleave, and yeah, so that's a direction that I'm excited about. Yeah, so that's just some very brief and slightly rambly. Sorry, I meant to stay a bit more focused with this, but it's exciting. To try and give you just a suggestion to understand how this is a bigger game than the previous. It's bigger because it has more mechanics that still cohere with the soul of the game, but without having to restrict it to just one system, and it has more world building, more getting some of the sense of what's around you, rather than the tight narrow focus of you're just you see more than just computer systems. Like one quite major. So I already said this in the backer kit stuff. There is a map of the network. Like that's still like not in the world. It's still the network, but so in the original you just like start up, you're hacking a server, and then you complete that, then you're hacking another server, and it was just like basically a line of servers. But now it's a space of servers. Once you've hacked a server, you choose which one to go to next, and like obviously that implies there needs to be a whole lot of game mechanics that give you reasons why you would choose one server over another. This one has higher risk, so it has to have the potential of higher reward to come around that's all in there. It's all working well. This is I'm still adding more layers to this, but it's already really satisfyingly deep. So that it's like it was already deep just with not much more than the mechanics of the original, but as I'm adding even more, it's really getting there. How much should I say? yeah. So the original had this concept, as you repeat successful runs, the game gets more difficult because there are bonus power-ups, which is my little joke that you get excited that you got a bonus power-up, and then it turns out the bonus power-up is the viruses take an extra step every turn. Thanks. Yeah, this concept of these bonuses are there. They're attached to the servers, and so you're to some extent choosing which combination of enemy effects you feel you can take on with the other resources that you have right now, which I won't go into. Yeah, so it's 868 hack, 868 back, and it keeps the soul of the game. I've really tried to like understand what that is. It's really it's hacking. What's hacking? It's what 868 hack is about. Is not exactly being a computer expert. It's about taking risks, trying a kludgy solution, and hoping that it just holds together for long enough to get you to the end. It's right. It's not like a perfect polished system. It's like a chaotic, massive system. It's about in a sense, it's about the computer systems that we interact with day to day, and how we sometimes have control of them, and sometimes we don't. And there's an alienness and a hostility to them, and as well as utility and comfort and so on. And it's really like focusing on what are the feelings that get brought up by having challenging interactions with computer systems that don't quite work how they should, and you have to find some way around. Yeah, I think that's kind of the heart of what the hacking in 868 hack is about. It's not mastery, it's managing to get through systems that were not built for you. So anyway, it's taking donations and like kind of pre-orders now, and check it out. What I wrote on the BackerKit page gives a really good summary of the game and the situation, and yeah, and it's at a point, like there have been crowdfunding campaigns that have not delivered, and so there's always that uncertainty. It's at a point where I feel confident, I feel comfortable doing this because like the game is good, assuming I'm able to stay alive and keep working, which right now seems pretty likely. I'm gonna stay alive, right? But yeah. Anyway, it's full of bugs. Not many critical ones. If I had to release it next week, it would you would be happy that I released a cool new game, and you would play it and you would have fun. It's far from done, but it wouldn't. Anyway, so this is just to say, it's coming along, well. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing the pre-ordery kind of crowdfunding thing if I didn't feel confident in myself that I had something that I could deliver. The exact timing, I've said mid next year to leave some wiggle room, because I don't know. I have my estimates, but you know, I could get to June or so and it's definitely done, or I could get there and be like, well, I mean, obviously it's playable now, so it's not going to not be playable then, but it could be at a point then where it would just be even better with a few more months work on it, and then I'll communicate clearly about that and you'll know what's up. But like, yeah, like, thanks for listening, thanks for backing those who have already backed and those who will, and thanks for playing, probably all of you. Goodbye.